Pause and practice activity Excel 1-2. We're next going to let Excel do some math for us automatically. So we'll go ahead and start in cell H5. And we're going to do a sum activity. And we can use this auto sum function for us. It's in the Home tab editing group. And it's auto sum. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And you'll notice that a formula appears in cell H5. And it actually shows us a suggested area to do the sum on. I want to do it on this area, so I'm just going to press the Enter key. Next, let's go ahead and give this column a heading. So I'm going to type total in here. And when I press the Enter key, you should notice that it centers itself automatically. And it does this because it assumes you want it to be the same as the cells to the left of it. We're next going to go down and do a sum on a column of data. So I'll go ahead and I'll click in the total days D19 column. And then I'm going to go up to auto sum. In this case, I am going to double click on it. And you'll notice that it automatically put this in here without me having to press the Enter key. We're next going to do an average of this information here. And we're going to put the value here. So what I'm going to do is select cell D20, go up to our auto sum function and click the down arrow next to it, and then choose the average option. Now you'll notice that it selects everything above it that's numeric, including the total days, which we don't want. So what I want to do is come down here to where the formula is, make sure I've selected past the 9, press the backspace key, and then press 8. And that will have now selected the proper range, so I'll press the Enter key. Now that we've entered the formulas, we'd like to have this information in all the appropriate locations. So here under H5, we have a formula, and you can see this up here in the formula bar. The formula appears up here, but the value showing in the spreadsheet. So I can go ahead and I can double click on this, and it'll fill down for us. I also want this stuff to fill over to the right. So I'll select both of these, and in this case I'm just going to drag it to the right, and this will fill in appropriately. Now as we can see, our averages here have a lot of decimal places after them, so let's go ahead and adjust that. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to select D20 through H20. I'm going to make sure I'm on the Home tab, and we're going to go to the number group, and I'm going to choose the number option here. There it is. And this will adjust our decimal points to only 2. And we're now going to apply some formatting. So we're going to go to A4 through H4. And we're going to make this bold. We'll go to A1 through A2. We're going to change this font size to 16. And we'll select cell A2. And we're going to change this at the end here to say first period instead of quarter. Now I'm going to do this by going up to the formula bar here and changing the entry there instead. Next, we need to adjust some column widths so the information is displayed properly. You'll notice here in column B that some of this information is cut off. And we'd like both of these columns to be the same width. So we can do what's called an auto fit. And I'm going to do this by selecting column B, holding the mouse button down, and then moving to the right. So I have selected both of these. Then I'm going to go to the center of the two columns. You'll notice this changes into kind of a funny looking cross. And I'm just going to double click. And you'll notice that this information changes so that we can see all the information appropriately and it makes the widths large enough to just show the largest item. Now we're going to do a similar thing with columns D through H, so I'll select those. But instead of just double clicking in between these, we are going to make these the same width, unlike what I had said earlier. So we're going to go ahead here and we're going to click the Format button, and this is under the Cells group here under the Home tab. So I'll click the Format button, and then I'm going to choose the Column Width option, and I'm going to type 7 for a column width, and this adjusts them down to the 7 width. We're now going to change the row heights on a couple of our rows. So we want this on rows 4 and 19 and 20. Now, you notice if I click on 4 and I want 19 and 20, I can't just drag it down, and I can't select 4 and then select 19 and 20. So what I have to do is use a key to make this happen for us. So I'm going to once again select row 4. I'm going to hold the Control key down and then select the other 2 rows so that I can use my capabilities on both of them. So now we're going to change the row height. So I'm going to go to one of the rows and right click on the heading here. I'm going to go down to row height in the pop-up menu, and let's change this to 24. So you notice it increased all of these. I can click anywhere to deselect those. Next, what we're going to do is we would like this information, instead of pushed to the left, to be centered over our entire table. So to do this, I'm going to select both of these both of these cells, and then pull out to the area where I'd like these cells to be centered across. So then I'll go to the Home tab under the Alignment group, and I'm going to click the launcher here, and we're going to choose the horizontal area here, and we'll choose Center Across Selection. Press OK, and that will be completed for us. We're next going to insert a row in our table. So to do this, we right-click on the heading of the row that we want to insert the row above, and then I will choose Insert from the drop-down menu, and this will put a blank row in here for us. I'm going to enter the information requested in here off video. We'll continue making more modifications to our worksheet. So let's select A4 through H21. So the entire table. We're going to click the Borders button in the Home tab Fonts group. Let's go back to Home. And then this is the Border button. We'll choose the drop down, and we're going to choose All Borders. You'll notice this puts a black border around each of these cells. So let's now select A4 through H4. And we're going to add a fill color to this. So I'll go up to the Font group under the Fill button, choose the drop down next to this, and I'm going to make this a blue color. Now we'd like to use the Format Painter to paint cells a similar format as one already selected. So we're going to choose A4 here. I'm going to click the Format Painter once, and then I'm going to click and drag to select A20 through H21. So this is the area that we want to select and place that format on. Next, we'll select A20 and A21 to align these to the right, and then I'll come up to the Alignment group and then choose the Align Right button. We'd next like to decrease the decimal points here on D21 through H21, so I'll select that. I'll come up to the Number group, and then we're going to choose the Decrease Decimal button until we get rid of all the decimal points. Let's next go ahead and change the name of the sheet. So if we come down to the bottom of Excel, you notice a little upside down tab that has Sheet 1 in it. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on this, and it selects so that I can change the name. So we'll change that to Rental Days. I'll press the Enter key. We can also change the color of this. So I'm going to right click on here, and I'm going to choose Tab Color, and I'll just choose a color of blue. We're then going to copy a worksheet. So I'm going to right click on Rental Days. I'm going to choose the Move or Copy command. We'll choose Move to End and create a copy. I'll click OK. You'll notice that it has a new sheet over here. It has the letters 2 appended to it to indicate it's a copy. And now you notice you can see the color here. If I click back on here, you can see the color of this one much easier. So now on this sheet, I'm going to right click on it and click Rename. And we're going to call this Next Period. And we're going to change the tab color. So I'm just going to change it to a yellow color. And then we're going to cells D5 through G19, which has our data in it. And we'll delete that. And you'll notice that we have an error here in these cells. This is telling us there's a divide by 0 error, and that will be resolved once data is placed in these cells. So the last thing we'll do here is we're going to make a color change to this so we can identify it against what the rental days looks like. So I'll click on here and I'll make it a yellow color as well as these. Okay, that ends this pause and practice activity.